It's an honor to be here today in front of, I will say, fellow Rotarians. I've been a Rotarian in Florence for over 40 years, moved to Reedsport, and I'm an applicant here to be in the Rotary. So it's a wonderful organization, and I am very proud to have been a part of it. Um, I've lived on the coast for about 50 years. I'm not a young man, but I'm experienced, to say the least. Um, basically, I moved to Florence in 1972 and as a third grade teacher. And after about 3 months of teaching, the principal walks into my room after school and says, Dwayne, my full name is Gerald Dwayne Wright, but the only person that ever calls me that is my mother, and usually when I was in trouble. And he says, Dwayne, you're doing a wonderful job. We're going to give you a raise. And I said, you're really wonderful. And he said, yeah, we're going to fire the rest of the teachers in the building. I said, really? And he says, yeah, we just feel like if we just open all the classroom doors, you could teach the whole school from your room. And he, the next day, he mentioned the Boomer in room 32. And so I've been Boomer ever since. As a do playing in a rock and roll band as a kid, and my hearing loss is becoming significant. And unfortunately, so I have some hearing aids, and I'm doing fine now. So I live in Reedsport with my wonderful and talented wife, Susan. She's a registered nurse, and she's just retired, so that we can go to Salem together and be a team up there for the Oregon coast. We have 4 adult children, 7 grandchildren, and you can never have too many grandchildren. Our cat Marvin, and I don't think he's quite as big as Thunder there, but we have him and our dog Marvin, and so we lived on a little country road outside of Reedsport, and thoroughly enjoy it. So as Tim mentioned, I've been involved in a lot of things that has to do with education or kids. I've been involved with that one way or another for most of my life. That's my love. I also, after retiring from Mapleton, I went directly work almost within a few months with Selco Credit Union, and was their liaison to all the 136 schools in Lane County, which was definitely a wonderful experience talking to teachers. And then after that, I immediately almost went to work for Sea Lion Caves and became the general manager there for 5 years. Wonderful, and I got to experience actually running a business. The money just didn't roll in from the state. I actually had to earn it. So that was an experience. Thoroughly enjoyed that. And then since that time, I've been substituting in the local high schools, both in Florence and Reedsport, and in North Bend and in Marshfield. Wonderful experience. I will say a lot of people get a little discouraged about our youth. I'm not one of them. I think we have a wonderful future ahead of us. Bright kids, energetic, just waiting for opportunities. And one of the things I want to accomplish while I'm in Salem is that more opportunities for kids. I had the opportunity, since I also am an author, I write children's books, and I published about 4 books. And so Siuslaw School District invited me to teach writing for about 5 weeks right before Christmas. So I enjoyed doing that. And as I was chatting with the kids, one of the things that came up, of course, was the graduation rates that we have here in Oregon. Unfortunately, somewhere around 75%. And I asked the kids, why do you think that 1/4 of you seem to be not graduating? And basically said it was opportunities, and not every student wanted to go to college. So I'm going to be working diligently with schools, and hopefully have the opportunity to provide many more, like I said, opportunities for them. We have the shortage of the doctors and nurses and bricklayers and carpenters and electricians and plumbers, all those kinds of things. And I think we just need more opportunity for kids to get involved to help us with that need. So that's one of the things that I definitely wanted to accomplish. As many of you know, there is a supermajority in both the House and the Senate, and so I firmly believe that, as with our lives in general, that we need balance. And so I'm hoping that with the addition of a few more people into the House, two more additional people into the House and into the Senate. Maybe some inroads can be made and compromise. It never comes out that we get everything we want, but if we're willing to compromise, we get some of the things we want. And I think that's where we need to head right now. Doesn't seem to me much compromise going on. So I'm hoping to be able to work through that. As far as what I want to accomplish, that's going to be a direction I get from the local communities. There's a lot of things that I personally want to do, being a little frustrated with what I believe is the coastal voice not being heard. But that comes from organizations like the Rotary, who come to me and say, Boomer, these are the kinds of things that we're seeing in the community, the kinds of things that we'd like you to take on to be able to help those people in need. And also to provide infrastructure for the area. You were talking earlier about jobs. That's the main thing. As I was campaigning, one of the things that people talked to me about was how do we bring jobs to the coast. One of the things that I think the coast has an advantage over many other places is livability. It's a wonderful place to live. I've lived here 50 years almost. I wouldn't live anyplace else. The people are wonderful, the scenery, you can do pretty much anything you want to within about 100 miles, and it's a phenomenal place to live. I think if we learned anything about COVID, it is basically that you don't have to live in or work in a 35-story building to be productive or competitive. They can come to Coos Bay. They can do whatever they need to do here, and the livability is what I think we need to push. Fiber optics is going to be a major thing that is necessary for our area, so that these businesses and people can be competitive all over the world. So those kinds of things are really, really important, and I'm going to be supportive of those as we move forward. As we all know, the coastal economy is basically based on a three-legged stool, as far as I'm concerned, and that is tourism, natural resources, and small business. Those things need to be supported. Those things need to be expanded upon. It's not an easy solution. I think my predecessor, Caddy, has done a darn good job in trying to bring those things here. I want to continue that legacy and make sure that the coast is supported. If nothing else, they'll definitely know there's a Boomer in the House of Representatives before very long. So challenges, as I mentioned, the supermajority in the House, those kinds of things are going to be a challenge for me in trying to push forward legislation. But I'll work with the Coastal Caucus, and that's on both sides of the fence. And I think that we'll have a strong representation in the House and also in the Senate. I think that will be able to push legislation through that's going to help the Oregon coast, and that's my main job. As to why I decided to run, well, of course, I was retired and I lived here for 50 years almost. I became frustrated with what I saw in Salem. Again, the coastal voice not being heard. The other major reason, in 1986, my first wife Andrea was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor. I lost her in '91, and during that time, the hospital in Coos Bay and the nurses and the doctors there were phenomenal, wonderful people who helped my family and I struggle through this challenge. And then the people in Reedsport and I've known for years and years supported me, my church, and it allowed me to survive, to be very honest. I had 2 children at that time, and those people were simply amazing. I realized I could never repay the kindness and compassion and support that I received, but I'd like to try. I'd like to pay back that support that I had as I moved to Salem and in representing the communities. So that's my spiel, short and sweet, and I'll leave you open to questions.
Well, Boomer, I'll just add I'll ask one question. You know, all of us have been struggling with this virus. However, we're also struggling in downtown Coos Bay and Reesport with this homeless stuff. It's not just the people that are homeless, but we got a lot of appearing derelict type of people that don't want anything except to sleep in doorways and such. And how can you handle that?
Well, that's a huge problem. It's not just Coos Bay. It's actually nationally. But I was talking to a good friend of mine that came down to visit up from Port Angeles, and the same problem there. He said they had about 1,000 people in Port Angeles who were homeless, and it causing some problems around there. You know, it appears to me that there are a number of people who don't want help, and that's just the way they want to live. The other group, I think, we need to meet with some professional help. I think our mental health access has been limited at best. I think we need to meet these people one-on-one and be able to find out where they are, what we can do to help them. Obviously, if we continue to just allow them to stay there and ignore things, 2 things are going to happen. One is just going to get worse, and the other thing, it's going to destroy businesses down in the Coos Bay North Bend area simply because people won't want to come. That's what's happening in a little bit in Salem that I've noticed in Portland for sure. So mental health is our first defense and offense, and I think we need to provide more money for those people to meet this group one-on-one. I think that's the only way we're going to be able to solve it.
Hey, can I chime in a little, follow up on that, Boomer? Question?
You bet. Good to see you.
Good seeing you. Hey, one of the biggest problems that we find with this homelessness is mental illness. If you talk to law enforcement here, that's the sheriff and the chief of police, they say the toughest thing for them to deal with is the homeless that are mentally ill. There's nowhere to take them or handle them. And I know that the state over the period of years has been shutting down the state mental facilities, and which is really putting a burden on this besides the regular homelessness problem.
Well, you're exactly correct, and that's not only in that area, as you well know, Joe, that the state of Oregon has somehow decided that the responsibility for everything seems to be on the cities and the counties from now on, that they don't want to take responsibility. They shut down the mental health facilities, which provided, I think, some services. I think, again, we look at it a balance. I think we need to get much more as far as mental health funding. I also think that we need to be more responsible as a governmental agency and looking at the problem. I think it's been sort of ignored to a certain extent. They talk about it, but as you and I both know, Joe, sometimes when everything is said and done, there's more said than done, right? So that's going to be a huge problem, and I think that's going to be something that we're going to have to tackle as a legislature. I'm not sure where that's going to go, but I think mental health is exceptionally important, and we need to make sure that the facilities there in Coos Bay and North Bend have the funding they need to meet this and be able to deal with these people. And a lot of it, I think, also has to do with jobs. To a certain extent, these people are homeless for a reason. We need to find out why. And at that point, was it drugs? Is it mental health? Is it they can't find a job? Do they need training? Those kinds of things. So the only way we can do that is to get in the middle of this, talk to these people, and apply those things that will help them get out of this homeless situation.
Boomer, Jim's got a question. Go ahead, Jim.
I just had a comment on that because I've been talking to my youngest daughter, who is teaches freshman high school students over in Arizona. And she says that she interacts with these kids at that age, they're what, 14, 13, 14. She says she can predict which ones will be worthless, homeless, on drugs, blah, 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 at that age group.
Yeah.
And so she's frustrated because she doesn't feel that she has support. They're cutting funding all the time. Something really needs to be done with the students or kids at that age group to head this off.
Absolutely. I think what government, and just again, my opinion, tends to do is they try to do too much. We need to look at at education, which is a major part of the Oregon budget, and make sure that we have enough money and facilities to be able to meet those needs. You're absolutely right. As an educator myself, I was fairly accurate in predicting which kids were going to make it and not. And a lot of it had to do, again, with opportunities to get them out of where they were, whether it was homeless or just poverty in general. And if we can provide opportunities for them to get out of that situation, then I think we're going to be much better off as we move forward. But again, I think we need to meet this head on. We need to make sure that the funding comes down for mental health issues, for drug rehabilitation and those kinds of things for the people that are here now, and focus that on education. It's a real problem, and I think it's going to take the community. I would like to see more local control over not only budgets, but the educational curriculum in general, and making sure that the people in Coos Bay and North Bend know what their students need locally. They know that they're short of doctors and nurses. They know they're short of people in the industry, blue collar industry. They know those things, and they need to be able to work together to be able to prepare our students so that they don't become homeless. So the educators are our frontline people, to be very honest.
Yeah, and another comment on that, because she has about 180 students that she sees every day, and she says that 16 of them are essentially homeless right now at age 14.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing that nationally too, and that hasn't changed over the last number of years. Even I haven't been in education for 20 years, but we were still experiencing homeless kids at that time, but not in the numbers that we are now. So this is almost at an epidemic stage, and we need, like I said, we need to jump in with both feet, stomp around a while, make sure we meet the needs of these kids. It's vitally important, and most of that is manpower, and that's what we're gonna need to be able to fight this epidemic.
Boomer, I had a question from Bill. Will Shutter Creek survive the budget process, do you think?
Oh my, we fought like heck with the governor this last summer and trying to convince her of this. It's another indication of how the coast is ignored and the coastal economy, and it frustrates me to no end. That they can't see that right now during the COVID epidemic, when businesses are closing down, people don't have jobs, that we're going to get rid of more jobs. That really makes a lot of sense. It's like shooting yourself in the foot because you have a toenail out of whack. It doesn't make any sense. Yes, I understand that there's a revenue problem. I understand that. But I also understand that there's going to be a major revenue problem in Coos Bay, North Bend, Reedsport, and Lakeside when that $6 million a year revenue stream is not there, and 100 people are going to have to move someplace else. And so that again decimates the community and tears people apart. And talking with many of the people at Shutter Creek, we're talking about people can't afford to just move. It's like the husband's or the wife, who's ever working there, is going to have to go someplace else, whether it's Portland or Salem or wherever. They'll have to work there. The family stays there until they can sell their home and move up there. It causes so many more problems that $6 million. And what about the cap and trade concept? We just have a new bureaucracy at about $5 million that's coming at us. You know, the trade-off there, I don't see that. It seems almost like every time we turn around, the coast is being punished. Now, what can we do? I think we do the same thing we did before. We write letters, we make phone calls, we do emails, we do a timber unity drive around the Capitol and honk our horns if we have to. I was up there that day that Timber Unity was there, and I was standing beside two suits, and I heard them say, you know, we better take these guys seriously. They said that they're willing to do anything. And I said, you know, they care about their jobs, and they care about the coast, they care about the economy, and they want to make sure that the livability that we have here continues. So those are the things that we have to do right now. Again, emails, write letters, phone calls, and that's not just to the governor, but and not just to the representatives, but to all of them, statewide, and so that we get a consensus from the coast and say needs to happen. I also appreciate the Coastal Caucus, David Brock Smith, Suzanne Weber now up north of us, Gomberg working together with us, Dick Anderson. I think we're gonna take a loud, strong voice to the legislature, and hopefully we can defend this.
And that's perfect, because I was just about to ask you about the Coastal Caucus, because I was going to say, has that been as successful as do you think as everybody would have liked to have seen? Does it need to go? Does it need to do anything different as a group, or is it on the right path as a Coastal Caucus?
Well, I haven't met with them yet, of course, with the COVID thing. I talk with David Brock Smith fairly often. I've met with Suzanne Weber a couple of times. David Gomberg called me from up above and indicated he's willing to work together with everybody and making sure we get the coastal needs met. Dick Anderson, of course, Senator Hurd down south, I think will work hard with us. So I think we're on the right path. I think, again, it's like a lot of things. You have to come with one voice, one vote, and that gives you the power to convince people sometimes to change their mind. So I think we're going to have to come together, as I said, with one strong voice, and hopefully be able to protect not only the Shutter Creek, but all Lakeview too. I think needs that kind of protection too.
Boomer, can I ask you one question? I've noticed over the years that they have consolidated the schools, eliminated a lot of neighborhood schools, moved kids to very large classes, and all of a sudden they're losing with all this neighborhood tie-in, the teachers with smaller classrooms, the whole thing. But yet our cost of education per student is doubles and triples what it was, a few years back. But maybe the notion is that it's not the greatest thing to have in the world, not have neighborhood schools.
Oh, I agree with you totally, and that's why I'm such an advocate for more local control. I think each community knows what they need, and it all comes down to jobs. I mean, you start looking back during the early '80s and how many kids we had in our community. I'm not sure about Coos Bay, but I know what happened in Florence. We had almost 2,000 kids in our school district, and all of a sudden, and by the end of the '80s, we're looking at about 1,200 kids. I think right now we've grown a little bit. We're up about 14. Reedsport had close to that, about 1,600. They're struggling right now with 600-800 K-12. So, and it's all about jobs. It's all about having the community being able to have living wage jobs, and a lot of that has to be a natural resource jobs, which have disappeared. And I was just listening today. I don't know if anybody else was doing that, but they were having the advisory meeting on Elliott Forest, and so there's going to be some logging there. At least some is going to be happening, and I'm sure it has to do with compromise. But again, there's another area that basically said, well, we're only going to have limited natural resource jobs available, and so it's going to continue to hurt the coast. So and I know Joe and I talked about this a little bit, about the transition between where we are and where we need to be, and that is that we need to move and include natural resources as a major component of our economy, but we're going to have to move further down the road to more jobs that will lend itself to livability aspects, maybe more green jobs as such. And so that's going to take a while. I'm encouraged by the building that's occurring down in Coos Bay, the new mall that's coming in. I think that's a good start. I think that's where we need to be. Slowly grow small businesses, make sure we protect them. We don't need any more taxes. We don't need any more regulations. We don't need anything like that. That just gets in our way of growth. And we're going to grow. We just need to manage it. I know I appreciate Joe and his efforts in Coos Bay. I've been there a little bit for their meetings, and I appreciate his leadership in being able to make sure that we're heading in the right direction. And then he's going to come to me and say, Boomer, we need to do these kinds of things to help Coos Bay. We need to do these things to help North, and that's my job. My job is to make sure that the things that are important to the Bay Area are things that I take to the legislature and bring funding and legislation down to improve things.
Boomer, Bill's got a question or comment.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tim. You know, I really appreciate your comment about that the coast has been misunderstood and overlooked. Years ago, I was at a meeting in the port office upstairs in the old hub building, and Ron Wyden was there and was kind of chiding the local, not to pick on him, but kind of chiding the local officials for not being creative enough. And he pointed across the bay to those non-commercial forest lands on the east side of the bay and said, you know, for example, if you would just get creative, think of all the people that would love to retire here and live on lands like that. Well, you know, the Oregon Land Conservation and Development Commission and the legislature has never given Coos County a fair shake when it comes to land policy. And as one former county planning commissioner once criticized the Land Conservation and Development Commission, he said, down here, we're required to protect old growth blackberries. So when you think about the lands that we've got that are not interested for commercial forestry, you know, Weyerhaeuser, the big timber companies, you know, they're not interested in them for legitimate reasons. Why can't the state come to see some balance and open those up for 5-acre home sites? The money it would bring into our area in jobs and economic vitality is I've never understood it.
And I agree with you absolutely. I don't know, but between you and me, it seems to be that our government talks out both sides of their mouths. They seem to say, well, we need to do this, and you need to grow, and we need to build homes. We need to have affordable homes. And all those kinds of things. And on the other side, they say, well, yeah, but you got to do this, and this, and you do it, and they get in the way of what they're saying they want to accomplish. I was asked a question many times about affordable homes, and they say, how do we make affordable homes? And I said, well, you have to make them affordable. I mean, well, and they said, well, what do you mean? We don't have all the codes and everything. I said, you know, all you have to do is talk to one of the contractors and builders in the community, and you'll find out what you need to know about building affordable homes. There are so many regulations, so many fees that it becomes, well, they can't afford to build. And then the ones they can afford to build, of course, are the well, you know, $400,000, $500,000 homes that normally help the providing affordable homes to the communities. It does bring in those people that are affluent, and that's important to the community in providing resources and taxes and those kinds of things. But it doesn't help the ability for the lower income people to buy homes. So you're exactly right. And so one of the things that I have noticed in talking to representatives and senators so far that I've met seems to come come down to oversight. It seems like the DEQ, the Oregon Department of Education, obviously the unemployment agency, is the oversight is almost non-existent. They're running on their own and doing whatever the heck they want. I was talking to David Brock Smith the other day, and he was mentioning that once you pass legislation, the agencies write their own rules. And then they do whatever they want. And he's saying we need to pass legislation to be able, when they write those rules, they come back to the legislature and we decide whether or not those rules are appropriate for what the legislation is. So I appreciate David in what his efforts are, and I will support that. So again, it all comes down to a strong voice in the legislature, and I can't do that by myself. That's up to wonderful organizations like the Rotary that I can call up and say, hey, I need some phone calls. I need some letters. Please ship them my way, and I'll make sure they get where they need to be so that people wake up and say, you know what? The coast is more than just a recreational place for the state. You know, we have an economy. We have people that love to live here, and they need to be supported. Anyway, economy.
Well, Wright, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come speak with us and let us get to know you a little better and help us to deliver some of our messages to you as well. So thank you very much.
Well, please be in touch, and I'll be in touch also. Thank you.